Brainerd City Council, Monday, May 5th, 2025, in council chambers. Tony, please call the roll.
Chesak?
Yes.
Johnson?
Here.
Stunek?
Here.
Yeager?
Yep.
Erickson?
Here.
Bevins?
Here.
O'Day?
Here.
Badeau?
Here.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, up next we have approval of the agenda.
Move approval, Johnson.
Second.
Was there any additional?
Oh, yes, we have to add the, under Safety and Public Works, the bollard and planter near the Holiday gas station on South Sixth for discussion and perhaps a change.
Is that number 7?
I'm not
Correct.
sure.
7, yes. I'll allow it.
All right, okay with the motioner?
7-7.
Yes.
All right. All right, this is a voice vote. Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Against, same sign. We have an agenda. Next, we have the consent calendar. This is a notice of public. All matters listed are considered routine by the council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless good cause is shown prior to the time the council votes on the motion to be adopted by roll call. Do we have a
To
motion?
approve consent?
Motion by Chesak,
Second, Yeager.
second by Yeager. Any discussion? Tony?
Chesak?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Stunek?
Yes.
Yeager?
Yep.
Erickson?
Yes.
O'Day?
Yes.
Bevins? Oh, sorry, Bevins?
Yes.
All right, that motion passes. Next, we have number 6. This is public forum. This is time allocated for citizens to bring matters not on the agenda to the attention of the council. Time limits may be imposed. Again, we're going to keep it to 3 minutes for everybody. Looks like we got a lot of people that want to talk tonight. So whoever wants to come up first and address the council, please come forward.
Mr. President,
Yes,
could you ask that people give their address along with the city they live in?
yes.
Thank you.
Did everyone hear that? We're asking for name and address and as well as the city that you live in. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, staff, residents.
Name?
John, I'm going to get there. John Ward, Brainerd property owner, at 1602 Southeast 13th Street. Quote, "To change the world, we must be good to those who cannot repay us." Pope Francis said that recently. I want to thank you for willingness to serve. Being an elected official is tough, and your willingness to serve says a lot about you. You will have and you have heard already lots of data and facts. I want to talk to you for about 3 minutes about your heart versus your brain, because I've been in your shoes too. As an elected official, you are frequently faced with difficult decisions. These decisions put you at odds with some and as a hero to others. It's like being an umpire in a baseball game. Some folks think your call was great and correct, and others are wondering if you know what you're doing. I too have personally experienced that as an elected official. What do? You ask yourself questions. Is it a no-win situation? Are the facts correct? Should I believe the data? Will my constituents still trust me? Will they like me? Am I learning what I need to learn to make the best decision with this issue? I want to quote Pope Francis again. Pope Francis asked, "What is the most important lesson to learn in life?" It is to learn to love. End of quote with Pope Francis. I have been in your shoes. I have had to make some really difficult decisions as well as an elected official. For me, it came down to listening to my heart and my conscience. You are all good people. I know most all of you. And you are good people, and you're serving as public servants. I feel you are being the best public servants you can be. I know each of you are caring people with big hearts. However, I, and many others, believe that you made a wrong decision regarding our homeless population. I've also done that. I've made wrong decisions and had to rethink things and go back later and reverse my previous decision. I'm asking all of you to do the same. Please allow the homeless shelter to open for the summer and give them a 3-year permit and do it tonight so that our homeless people don't have to spend any more nights out. In closing, let me quote Pope Francis one more time. One more time for Pope Francis. The only time that, quote, the only time we are allowed to look down upon others is when we are offering to help them get back up. End of quote. Listen to your heart tonight and down the road, and please take care of our homeless folks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ward.
Mr. President,
Yes,
could we have people give their home address, please?
sure.
Thank you.
Name and home address, including city.
Dan Hegstad, 520 3rd Avenue Northeast, Brainerd. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, and staff, thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. I want to address two separate but similar issues. First, the zoning regarding Phase 4 of the Creekside community by the My Neighbor to Love Coalition. I attended both the Planning Commission and council meetings, and I still don't know all the nuances of the laws and why you voted, why you did. But I do note that neither vote was unanimous. We've all known people with passion for a cause, and yet frequently most all they do is say somebody ought to do something. Well, the people at the My Neighbor to Love Coalition are really doing something. And rather than complain that nobody's doing anything, they did it. They've raised substantial amounts of money. They're making a difference. The Creekside community exists. They've got a proven record. I urge the council to revisit the issue and find a way to make it work. The issue of the year-round permit for the bridge on South 7th should be revisited. Here's another organization doing the work and making a real difference in people's lives. They're not asking for money, only a permit. Why would you not grant it? A good question. I think part of the reason is that the homeless or the unhoused are seen as different. They are not. They may have mental health or addiction issues, but the same can be said for people who have housing. The difference is that when they interact with law enforcement, a check mark goes in a homeless box. And then there's a statistic, there's a number. And while the number does reflect a real interaction, it leads us to wrong conclusions. My wife volunteers at the bridge, tells me that many of the guests have jobs, but the pay may not be sufficient to pay rent, food, and the other expenses. Further, if they have been evicted in a tight rental market, most landlords would choose tenants who have not been evicted. What do you do then? I think it's likely that part of the issue is that we fear that if Brainerd takes positive action, the homeless will flood in from around the state. It's understandable, but I doubt that it's as significant as we may fear. How about if we did the right thing? Grant a long-term permit, allow the bridge to do what they do best, and then work to educate other communities as to what works. If other communities act positively instead of out of fear, together we make some real progress and people get helped.
3
They
minutes is
say
up.
you're either part of the problem, I'm very close, if I may. They say you're either part of the problem or part of the solution. You have the opportunity, and I say responsibility, since you passed the camping ordinance, to be part of the solution. The My Neighbor to Love Coalition and the Bridge on South 7th are part of the solution, and I urge you to join them. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Bill Weir, 5823 Laverne Circle, Baxter, Minnesota. Here representing the Bridge on 7th as the operations manager. Ever since April 7th, I've been asked multiple times by many different people, what now? Where are the people that I serve going to go? And I only have one answer. I don't know. With the passing of Ordinance 1571 last year, there are no options during the summer. The only option you have is hopefully having some family connections or friends in the area that will let you stay on your couch. If you're renting, that could potentially evict that person. Nobody wants to do that. Ever since the passing of Ordinance 1571 last year, I've been racking my brain of what can we do to make this work. So I decided to go back and listen to the council meeting last year regarding this. And I would just like to remind some people of what was mentioned. Chief Davis had said the encampment spread around June. June, the shelter is no longer open. He also said the only way to regulate it for public safety purposes would be to enact an ordinance. Now, I think that ordinance enacted along with us being open all year round is the safest way to go for our public. He'd also said he'd double down to work with the homeless response team and some of the entities that work with this. I would like to see where this doubling down and working with this entities is. Mr. Johnson, you had also said there's more that we can do, and you had asked if we have something concrete to bring to the city. Well, we have something concrete. We have a plan, we have a space, we have the staff, we have the money. We just don't have the permission. All we're asking is for permission to continue doing what we do best, and that's serving the people of Brainerd. You guys make hard decisions every single day. Most of the time, we don't see the fallout from that. I get to see the fallout from this decision. I see it every single day. I take phone calls every day. I do not like telling people I don't know or saying the best option is to get out of town. I don't want to chase these people out of town. These are our residents. These are our brothers, sisters, neighbors, aunts, uncles. They're all people. We are all people. Mr. O'Day, you said the last option for the ordinance would be the last option as long as people are working with the system. Now, how are the homeless population in Brainerd going to work with services when there are no services offered in the summer? So I would just like to leave you guys with my philosophy on why I do what I do. One person might not be able to change the world, but you can change the world for one person.
Thank you, sir. Guys, we don't typically encourage clapping and cheering and that kind of thing in either direction. So if we could please refrain, thank you.
Hi, my name is Gail Mueller, and this is my husband Chuck, and we live at 25108 Norway Lane in Nisswa. We have served at the shelter together. Last year, I met a veteran who decided to share with me his experience in Vietnam and the fact he was dealing with PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. He was managing it and looking forward to his future. As we know, a large number of people in our shelters are struggling with mental illnesses. I felt comfortable listening to him because I'm an advocate for those with mental illness. I joined the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention as a volunteer 15 years ago. I had a brother who was almost unhoused back in 2010 during the Great Recession. He owned many businesses, including a resort in Valparaiso, Chile, but when the recession hit, no one had the money to buy his real estate or purchase his businesses. He wasn't liquid, and he went bankrupt. None of us knew this, and he never asked for help. He never asked anyone for help. Stigma paralyzed him, and Glenn ended up taking his life. Depression is very complex and accumulates over time. Going bankrupt was his tipping point. He left behind his 4 young children. The reason I share this with you is to let you know that anyone can become unhoused. Anyone can experience unforeseen circumstances and find themselves alone and in despair. These folks who come to the shelter, they are asking for help. They are humbling themselves, and that is a very hard thing to do. And I am so proud of them, and they have taken that step, and they are trying to move forward. And I want to please ask you to open your heart to them. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Pam Stock. I reside at 317 North 7th Street in Brainerd. Mayor Bedeau, members of the council and staff, thank you for the opportunity. I'm actually here on behalf of Bethlehem Lutheran Evangelical Church in 418 8th Avenue Northeast in Brainerd. I serve as the director of the Board of Service and Evangelism. I understand that council members, you received a letter, hopefully via email last week, and I'm here to read the letter to everybody tonight. This was dated April 28th, 2025. Dear Brainerd City Council members, on behalf of Bethlehem Lutheran Church, we write to express our strong support for Bridges on 7th overnight shelter and to respectfully request that the City Council reopen the conversation regarding its year-round operation and reinstating the 3-year permit. At our recent congregational meeting, a motion was made from the floor to offer our support for Bridges on 7th shelter. The motion passed with a unanimous vote, and I might add there were 70 people in attendance at that meeting. A reflection of the deep and shared commitment among our members to care for our neighbors in need was evidenced that day. As a faith community, our call to love and serve our neighbors compels us to advocate for those who are most vulnerable. Since the shelter's inception, many of our members, who are also here tonight, have volunteered during its open season and have witnessed firsthand the critical role it plays in offering safety, dignity, and a path forward for those experiencing homelessness. I personally have also volunteered. The shelter's outcomes reflect its success and responsible stewardship. More than 50 individuals have transitioned into permanent housing this season alone. I think you've heard that already. Approximately 70% of guests stayed for 2 weeks or less, demonstrating the shelter's focus on short-term stabilization. And no negative complaints have been filed by neighboring businesses. I think you heard that one too. Of the 119 total calls since August 2021, 36 were for emergency medical services, and only 4 individuals were from outside the local area. While Bridges on 7th was originally envisioned as a seasonal warming shelter, the needs of our community have evolved. With the city's ordinance prohibiting sleeping outdoors, individuals without shelter now have no legal or safe alternatives during the warmer months.
30
The
seconds,
need
ma'am.
for shelter no longer corresponds only to the cold. It is a year-round necessity for the health, safety, and dignity of all who live in Brainerd. We believe reopening the conversation around year-round operation is not only reasonable, but necessary given these realities. It is an opportunity to align city policies with the compassionate values that define our community and to work collaboratively toward the solutions that serve both public safety and human dignity. We appreciate your service to our city and your thoughtful consideration of this request. This is signed by President Scott Parsons, Vice President Pamela Finch, myself, Pamela Stock, the Director of Board of Service and Evangelism, and our Senior Pastor, Mark Skinner. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Brenda Beaver, and I live at 812 Holly Street, Brainerd. I have nothing written down, as you can see, so I'm just going to go from the heart. I am a recovering addict of 14 years. I, too, once was homeless. And if it wasn't for Northern Pines stepping up to help me, who knows where I'd be today. I also am the person who puts on Christmas with the homeless every year. And these people, it's not where they want to be. And do you think by passing these ordinances that they're going to go away? It's not going to happen. They have nothing. They have no place to go to, nobody to go to. They need the whole community to stand up and love them. I was a fortunate one, extremely fortunate. Many of these will not be. And by you passing all these ordinances, first off, can't stay outside in the summertime. Okay, if they go to jail, who's paying for that? The taxpayers are, correct? Of course it is. And in the summertime, they can't stay outside, but they can have a safe place for them to put their head. What do you think is going to happen? How do you think crime starts? When people become desperate, that's when they start doing more crimes. I guess that's all I have to say, and I really hope that you change your minds on this.
Thank you.
Ann Nelson Fisher, 517 North 5th Street in Brainerd. I also am here to support the Bridge on 7th's conditional use permit for 3 years and for the idea of having it operate over throughout the full year. I am putting away my notes because others have said in better ways what I wanted to say as well. But I did want you to think about the fact that you've asked all of us, rightly so, to state our name and address. And I'd like you to think about having an address and how many things you do throughout the day require you to have an address, and how difficult life is without one. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Jacqueline Nornis. I live at 21613 Irene Avenue in Ironton, Minnesota. Dear council members and staff, I am here to make an appeal to you to reconsider your stance and your vote on the Bridges on 7th shelter. I'm asking you to extend their permit to include the year-round shelter and for a 3-year lease, same as the others have said. I've been a part of this faith community in Brainerd for over 30 years. I have volunteered and worked with the Interfaith Hospitality Network when it was existing, the New Pathways, and then I've been a part of the volunteer at Bridges on 7th since its inception. I have done morning and evening shifts. I just want to explain that the shelter provides sustenance for living for many people. The people who use the shelter, they don't come because it's like a great place to stay for free. They come as a means to be nourished in body with rest. That's it. That is all they ask. They can use a clean bathroom with a sink, a clean cot-like bed, a chair to sit on around a small table, and if they're lucky, coffee, water, cocoa, and some basic treats. Bridges on 7th is safe, clean, and welcoming. It provides warmth from the cold or coolness from the summer heat. They can be provided with donated clothing and toiletries, but that's it. It's not a lot, but it's something. Something that can sustain their life for another day. I also believe that when they can stay there, as much as I know they don't want to, they feel validated, that their community values them and their life. Bridges on 7th is not a home, as the lady stated. It's not an address. For most, it is a means to an end for which they are grateful. So I urge you to reconsider this situation. God bless. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Pam Bolio, 2540 130th Street Southwest, Pillager. So the reason I'm here is to give a couple of sort of personal things. I've been a volunteer on the crisis line for 32 years. And in that time, when I first started, and somebody would call that was homeless, we used to tell them to get a hold of the police, okay? And then what the police would do would take you over to Salvation Army, and if they had enough money, they would actually get you a room for one night at a hotel. And then the next morning, they would get you a bus ticket to St. Cloud, to the shelter down there. So my question is this: why was it okay for us to send our homeless people to St. Cloud and be done with them, kind of, and not take care of our own people? So now I'm going to tell you a personal story about a night that I volunteered over at the Bridge on 7th. So I got there, and one of the first things you do when you get there is you make some coffee, set out some snacks, and as the guests come in, you ask if they need anything. Sometimes they want a blanket, sometimes they want a pillow, sometimes they want a towel and stuff to clean up with. Okay, great, you get them those things. And then about 8 o'clock, I noticed one guy was going back to go to bed already. So I said to the staff, I'm like, because they were kind of shushing everybody, and I'm like, what, it's like 8 o'clock. I mean, nobody goes to bed at 8 o'clock. Oh, he does, because he has to get up early. I said, really? So what time does he get up? Well, we get him up at 5:30. I said, why? Well, because he has a job and he works over at one of the fast food, I'm not going to say the names, fast food places over by the mall over there. And because he doesn't have a car, he has to walk. Now just think about the times of the year that the shelter is open, okay? He had to walk over there. I said, wow. And then they said the other thing that he does is he takes his second uniform with him, because when he gets done with that job, because it's not full-time, he changes into a second uniform and he goes to his second job to work because he can't get full-time work. I said, wow. But they said, you know what we do for him? Is that when he comes here, he gives us both of those uniforms and we wash them for him overnight, so that the next morning he has a clean uniform to wear to both of those jobs. Now, where is that going to happen anywhere else? You can't even go to the laundromat for less than like $8 to wash anything. And he needed sleep to work those jobs. And he was working 2 jobs and paying taxes on those jobs, the money he made. I just beg you to reconsider. This is not how we want to be known as a community. That we send our people to St. Cloud, or we just don't even take care of them at all in the summer. It needs to be open year-round, and it needs to be accessible. There are not problems there. I have volunteered there a lot, and it is an amazing place. So my other thing is, I have this little thing I copied off, and I have a friend with me. Could I give you a gift?
5 seconds left.
It's really short. But can I give you a gift, each one? Would that be okay?
Can't accept gifts.
We can't
It's
accept
okay.
gifts.
Huh?
We can't accept gifts from anybody.
If I just lay them up on the counter and then take them when I go?
You can show us something if you'd like to show us something, and then
We'll just put them up on the counter because it goes along with this. And I know everybody knows this story, okay?
please try to wrap it up. We got.
I will, real quick. So a man was walking along a beach and sees a boy picking up a starfish and throwing them back into the ocean. The man asks the boy what he's doing, and the boy explains that the starfish will die if they're left on the beach. The man argues that there are too many starfish to save, and the boy's efforts are insignificant. The boy picks up another starfish, throws it back, and replies, "I made a difference to that one." And that's what I'm asking you to do. And so I'm going to set a little starfish in front of each of your places there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Beth Bernard, 819 2nd Avenue Northeast in Brainerd. I live actually over by where one of the encampments was, by the river. Never had any issues with any of those people down there. Barely even knew they were there, aside from seeing a tarp when we would walk in the cemetery. So we spent a lot of time out there. It's a beautiful area. So I was listening to the April 21st meeting, that there were several people that also talked for the bridge on 7th. That is also why I'm here. Found it very hard to believe that it wasn't approved. They were said to take things to heart, so I would say do that. Take things to heart and actually take this back to the table. Reconsider giving them the summer months and let them run year-round to be able to do what they do. If the police chief is able to rescind that if they have issues, why would you not approve it? They're not asking for money. They're just giving people a safe place to sleep. Public safety was mentioned as a concern. To that, I would ask, does public safety only apply to those of us lucky enough to have a roof over our head? I don't think so. I highly doubt they feel very safe right now as they're out there trying to figure out where they're going to sleep every night because they have nowhere to go. They can't get out of the elements. It said this time of year isn't considered critical, and I would ask there, not critical to whom? Maybe not critical to you. You have a place to go. They don't. They have nowhere to go. So everybody deserves a safe place to sleep and some dignity. It's not like they want to do that. They don't want to be there. And if anyone thinks it's too easy to be homeless, I would highly suggest they go try it for a few nights and see what they think after that. I really hope the council will reconsider their decision on this. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm Chuck Benson. I live at 324 North 7th Street, and I was quite moved by the woman that said her brother had died. My son is an ER physician at the Brainerd State Hospital. He had a guy come in, and he did a medical checkup, and he said, "Well, you got to go. There's nothing really wrong with you." And he says, "You mean there's no place for me to go?" And he said, "Well, I have a place for you. I got a car, pick you up, take you South 7th. And the guy said, I was going to kill myself when I left. And I think it kind of broke me up when she said that. Yeah, because these are real life things that are happening here. And that's all I got to say.
Thank you, sir.
Council, Rick Scogan is my name. I live in 20841 Donaldson Road in unorganized territory. I'm a part-time volunteer at this place. I didn't know anything about it. Church that I go to said, Rick, would you like to volunteer? And I did. And I thought, gee whiz, guys, the folks that I talk to, I keep reminding myself, Rick, if I'd have moved one direction or another throughout my life, you know where I live, Kevin, did my house. I did okay in my directions. I did. Kevin, you know me. But it wouldn't have taken that much, guys, for me to go a different way. And it wouldn't take any of us to go a different way. And I thought about that. I thought, that could be me. And then when I heard it wasn't open in the summertime, I thought, that's weird. Where do they go? Do you know where they go? I don't. I talked to these guys. They weren't sure where they were going to go, mostly guys. So I guess it's just reasonable to me to let it open up in the summer for 3 years, see if it works. If it somehow doesn't work, police chief will shut you down. Give it a try. That's all I have to say. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Erica Nilsson, 13956 Grand Oaks Drive in Baxter. Thanks for the opportunity to hear all of these stories and to listen and to hopefully have hearts that are open to being changed. I'm a pastor at Lord of Life Lutheran Church in Baxter. I've been a pastor there since 2001, so I've been a part of this community for a long time and have always delighted in being a part of this community. I served on the Bridges of Hope board for 6 years, was delighted to serve in that capacity and saw the exceptional work that they did in all that they did. This past April 7th was a sad day in Brainerd's history and in the history of this community when you voted to minimize the permit to a one-year permit and not extend to summer months for the shelter. So a quick story from the scriptures. So in the book of Acts chapter 3, there's a story of a lame man who was born lame, and he has friends and family that bring him to the temple every single day to beg for money. And one day, Peter and John, two of Jesus' disciples, walk up and see him, and he asks them for money. And they say, "Neither silver nor gold do we have, but we will do for you what we can. We'll give you what we have." And then they said, "In the name of Jesus, stand and walk." And the man stands and he walks away. And actually, he goes into the temple walking and leaping and praising God. There's a whole bunch about that story that I love. The thing that I think is important for us to think about tonight is that they gave him what they could. They gave him what they could. There are a host of issues in this city. There are a host of issues that folks who are homeless struggle with. We can't maybe answer all of those questions, cure all of those things, work for all of that healing, though there are people in this community that are gifted and talented and passionate about all of that. But you can do what you can. You can offer what is in your power to offer, which is to bring this issue back to the table, to discuss it, to be compassionate about it, to be open to doing your part, which is to simply say yes. To the Bridge on 7th being open throughout the summer months, to the Bridge on 7th having a 3-year permit so they don't have to be desperately rethinking how this is going to go year after year after year. In a recent study by an organization called Community Solutions,
About 15 seconds.
okay, they're a nonprofit organization that works to achieve and end the lasting effects of homelessness. It says, due to a combination of factors, people experiencing homelessness experience elevated rates of dangerous health conditions, injury, violent victimization, and increased mortality. We're not asking you to solve all of those things. We're asking you to do what you can, which is provide a place for them to have some stability and stable housing so that all of those things, those dire effects that we would not want anyone we love to be impacted by, would have less of effect on them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Emily LeClaire, and my throat is very dry. I reside currently at 1120 Norwood Street in Brainerd, Minnesota, and I'm here to implore that you reopen the discussion for the Bridges on 7th site. I don't have data and facts, but I do have a little bit about my personal story that I want to share with you guys. So, in the spring and summer months of 2014, I found myself unhoused. Working a full-time job was great with a spouse who was doing the same, but once we split, I found myself not being able to make ends meet, and very quickly, my 2 children and I were without a place to go. I was also pregnant at the time, so as you can imagine, being pregnant in the summer is already a bother, but when you have to be outside quite a bit, it's very not nice. I just want to share that I was blessed when I was unhoused because of New Pathways. It's no longer here, and I'm really passionate about serving the underserved. For the past 10 years, I've done a lot of volunteer work with Head Start and Early Head Start, TCC, the Minnesota Head Start Association. Volunteered at a soup kitchen, and while I was at New Pathways, I got the opportunity to help people who were unhoused like I was, because I was the only one with a car when I was there. So I got to drive my fellow unhoused people to appointments, to interviews for jobs. And while I was there, I met a couple of gals who still reside in the Brainerd area and are currently nurses working in the health field. And I just wanted to say that those women and myself would not have had the opportunities to serve that they have without that hand up in the time of need. So I'm looking around and I'm seeing we have a lot of willing folks to help out. We have the resources we need. Like many have said, we need a yes from you guys. But I think more than a challenge, it offers us an opportunity to be a shining beacon in the Brainerd Lakes area. So people can look at us and see, hey, it's working in Brainerd, we should do something similar. And that goodness can spread out. Rather than the homeless populations moving here like some worry about, I would see people taking our cue and creating a similar thing there in their homes.
30 seconds.
With that, I just want to thank you guys for being here. I know it's a lot of hard work you are doing, and a lot of folks have spoken. I just wanted to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. And again, I implore you to reconsider your stance. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, members of the council. My name is Richard Gregory Needham. I was born on June 24th, 1965, and at the time of my death on November 5th, 2017, I was 54 years old, and I was a hidden unhoused resident here in Minnesota. I did not have a regular address to stay at, and there were no low-barrier shelters available to me the night that I froze to death. I am survived by my family, who is here to speak for me today. My name is also Emma Needham. I live at 1017 13th Avenue Northeast in Brainerd, Minnesota. I'm here on behalf of my uncle and my family, and I urge you to reopen the conversation regarding the permit for the Bridge on 7th and their shelter, both to permit it for another 3 years and to allow it to operate year-round. Closing the shelter does not make homelessness disappear. It simply makes it the neighboring community's problem. Our city is the county seat, and any folks in Crow Wing County needing support must come here for help, and there is no place for them to stay. If their case takes more than one day, where are they going to go? But honestly, my biggest concern is maybe something that you will be more interested in discussing, and that's money. My biggest concern is the fiscal responsibility in this matter. Ordinance 1571 was passed with very little financial consideration. It costs the city and the county money to prosecute people. Bridges of Hope Shelter is a cost-saving measure to this community for that reason. Arresting and jailing unhoused residents creates additional costs to our police force and stress, and creating probationary cases and more to prosecute defenseless individuals creates a fiscal responsibility to this city that is not required if they allow the Bridge on 7th the needed permits to do their job, which is caring for our unhoused citizens. I'd also like to remind you that part of your job is to remember that all people in the community are your constituents, and by requiring an address to speak today, you have silenced those who do not have one. Running them out of town is not going to solve our problems, and it will cost this city money. And as a resident of Brainerd, I would prefer that you reopen this conversation and consider other measures that do not come out of my pocket and harm people that I care about. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
President O'Day,
Yes, Mr. Chezak.
invite people who don't have an address to come and speak.
Yeah, anyone without an address can come and speak. You just say you don't have an address, that's totally fine.
I have an address, actually,
Okay,
so.
thank you.
Justin Goebel, 1140 122nd Street, Southwest Brainerd. All these stories are heartwarming and everything, but I think these are the minority of the people, and I think the majority of people are just too scared to say anything against it. And I think when you call the chief of police a liar and go down that road, it's just opening it up for terrible things. But I support the chief of police and the police department and the city council. You guys are doing great work, and I say keep it up.
Thank you, sir.
Eric Holst, 21471 Paradise Drive, Nisswa. Numbers are statistics and names are people. Logan, Mikey, Eric, Brandon, William, Anna Marie, John P., Daryl, Tony, Dan, Brandy, Tim, Tyler, Joseph, Tim, Emerson, Jacob, Johanna, Graver, Hal, Phil, Zach, Robert, Timmy, Johnson, Dave, Dylan, Roy, Derek, Ida, Derek, Bryce, Emily, Marie, Tim, Celeste, Danielle, Nick, Mark, Earl, Nick, Lauren, Ben, Regina, Rob, Dave, Chris, Alyssa, Nick, Mike, Kelly, Cole, Connie, Jeff, Travis, Neva, Clint, Mason, Ashley, Jordan, Christian, Andy, David, Ray, Jamie, Jared, Evan, JJ, Scott, Derek, Audrey, Dale, Brooke, Kelsey, Jared, Joe, Jensen, Samantha, Kay, Cindy, Becca, Drew, Damon, Archie, Bridget, Matt, Sean, Taylor, Sarah. I actually have 2 more pages because this is only half the people that have stayed at the bridge, but I only have 3 minutes. These are all names of real people. These are not numbers and statistics. These are human beings. Sons and daughters, brothers and sisters. Some are husbands and wives. Some are moms and dads. Some are grandmas and grandpas. If these people were your father, your mother, your brother, your sister, your son, or your daughter, Would you not want to allow someone to provide them with a safe place that is dry for them to sleep for the night? I'm not sure what each of you
20 seconds,
believe about God's activity in creation, but I believe each person is created in the image of God and worthy of dignity, care, and respect. We're a country that claims to be founded on the belief that all people are created equal and are endowed with inalienable rights. Why are these people not worth our care? Why are these people not worth our love? Why are these people not worth having the chance to sleep in a dry, safe place? I don't want to be right. I want to get it right. What do you want?
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening, councilors. I'm Scott Hoffman, 11405 East Steamboat Bay Road in East Gull Lake. Go to church 3 blocks down the road at Communitas. I feel like I'm somewhat part of this downtown community. I just wanted to say I agree with what's been mostly said here tonight. I'm also on the city council where I live, so I understand all you guys are here to try to do the right thing. And I think that you've been moved probably by the stories, as all of us have, and I'm just asking and hoping you do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Danelle Eggert and Carly, my daughter. We're at 20859 North Sorensen Lake Trail, Merrifield. And the last time I was here, I'm horrible at speaking, just so you know, but I believe in speaking from the heart. And last time I was here was 3 years ago when we were looking to open Bridge on 7th as a solution to the homeless situation in the area, in our community. I know, Mayor Bedeau, you also slept outside, as many people did, to help raise money in support of the homeless shelter. And it was an awful night. 2 nights I stayed out. The biggest thing for me was I was scared. I was scared. Even though I had my best friend who was a retired police officer right next to me, I was deathly afraid for my safety and just scared. But mostly I just want to put humanity to it. And Carly wanted to actually share a story from when we volunteered at the soup kitchen just this winter.
Hello, I'm Carly. I would just like to share a personal story that I've experienced, and I'd like to speak on behalf of those who can't speak for themselves, because I've been raised to stand up for other people. One night I was volunteering at the soup kitchen with my mom and some family members, and I met this elderly woman named Edie. She was very nice, very sweet. She was probably 70, 80 years old. I sat down, got to know her, talked with her. She had a normal life. She had kids, she has grandkids. All of a sudden, something happened that was devastating, and she no longer could afford things, and she ended up being homeless. Well, that night, she stayed afterwards to help me clean up the kitchen or mop the floors, and we ended up giving her a ride over to the homeless shelter. It was like -5 degrees that night. It was snowing, it was raining, it was sleeting. It was just disgusting outside. I couldn't imagine seeing her every day, like what she does every other day, to walk from the soup kitchen just to get a meal to somewhere safe to stay, especially as a woman. That's horrifying. I feel like the main impact I got from this was that anyone can be homeless. She had a family. And I feel like it could happen to anyone at any moment. And I feel like it's very important that we stand up for people, because that could have been your grandma. That could have been your mom. That could be your children, your children's children. It could happen to anyone. And I feel like we need to help them. We need to help where we can and when we can. And we need a solution. And I think you guys could get us to that solution. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else that wishes to address the council? Is there anyone online that would like to address the council? Please press *3 if you are online and would like to address the council. Otherwise, I'll ask one more time if there's anyone in here that would like to come up. Seeing nobody, we'll now close the public forum. It is 8:19, and that will be the end of public forum. The rest of our business tonight, everybody is welcome to stay. Maybe some of it's not as entertaining, but I thank you all for your testimony tonight. And if you are staying, like I said, you're welcome to stay. If not, we'll give you a minute to gather your stuff and, what's that?
Yes, that's data centers.
Well, if you're on the East Skull Lake City Council, and you're passionate about your home, why doesn't East Skull Lake? Start building. It's here, everybody, but we are the only town even. You couldn't do that anywhere. 7 months of dealing with them.
Just so she can. Well, I have a story that goes with what they said, but I'm keeping my mouth shut tonight. Personal story.
All right, moving on. This is number 7. We have council committee reports. First up, 7A is Personnel and Finance Committee. We have Committee Chairman Gabe Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm kind of waiting for that door to shut. I don't like background noise.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have 2 items. My committee members will try to keep the uproarious applause after my motions to a minimum tonight. The first motion is about our bonding request for the state of Minnesota, and the motion is to adopt the attached resolution authorizing the city administrator to file with the state our priorities for state bonding. The first priority is the water treatment plant improvements, the second is the pedestrian bridge over 210, and the third is the Cuyuna Lakes Trail Extension East segment. And I so move.
Second.
Motion by Johnson, second by Stunek. Any more discussion? Hearing none. Anybody else? Looks like none.
It is a resolution.
This is a resolution, so Tony, please call the roll.
Chesak?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yep.
Stunek?
Yes.
Yeager?
Yep.
Erickson?
Yes.
Bevins?
Yes.
O'Day?
Yes, that resolution passes. Chairman Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Our second and final item is to approve the 25 through 27 contract terms wages resolution with the United Steelworkers International Local 9230 Unit 09, the Hydro Union. We have 3 motions on this. The first one is I move to approve the attached 2025 through 27 tentative agreement summary between the city and USW Local 9230 Unit 9, representing our hydro operator, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Johnson, second by Bevins. Now, is this a resolution?
This is not. The second one will be a resolution.
Okay, thank you. Johnson.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. So this, you'll see the across-the-board increases on January and July 1st, and then January 1st of 26 and 27. Those are the same amounts we have settled with all of the other unions. We have settled for those dates.
All right, thank you. Any more discussion? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor? Aye. Against, same sign. Motion passes. Chairman Johnson.
Okay, next up, I move to adopt the attached resolution setting the USW Local 9230 Unit 9 Union wages for 2025 through 27. And I so move.
Motion by Johnson, second by Stunek. Any more discussion on that? Tony? Please call
Chesak?
roll.
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Stunek?
Yes.
Yeager?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Bevins?
Yes.
O'Day?
Yes. That resolution passes. Chairman Johnson.
Okay, and the third action is I move to approve the attached memorandum of understanding allowing IBEW union members to temporarily work at the hydro facility that expires 12/31/27, further to authorize the signature of City Administrator Broyles on said MOU, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Johnson, second by Bevins. More discussion? Johnson.
Yeah, the United Steelworkers Union currently has a lone member in it, so it's just one guy. So we need an MOU to have some of our IBW workers going over there like we have for years. We're extending the MOU to go all the way through the term of the contract through 27, so that's a good move.
Thank you, Chairman Johnson. Any more discussion? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Against, same sign. Motion passes. Chairman Johnson?
End of report.
Thank you. Next up, we have 7B. This is Safety and Public Works Committee. Committee Chairman Tad Erickson.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have 7 items on our agenda, the first of which is award proposal, improvement 2502, 2025 large patching project. The motion coming out of committee is to award the proposal from Anderson Brothers in the amount of $49,940 for improvement 2502, 2025 large patching project, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Erickson, second by Chesak. Any more discussion?
Yeah,
Chairman
just to mention that this is our typical annual, roughly $50,000 for large patching projects that staff identifies on various roadways. There's a list of roadways in the packet, and on the screen, I won't, of course, go through those, but they were all included in the staff recommendation and motion.
Mr. President?
Yeah, Mr. Chesak.
In committee, the motion included having staff come back with any future large patching projects to bring before the Safety and Public Works, so we're aware of them before they go out for bids. I don't know if you...
Friendly amendment
Yeah.
to the motion?
Yeah, thank you. That was included in the discussion and in the motion coming out of committee that staff would bring the streets to us in advance so that we could take action on what streets are included in the future.
Okay.
So that you're amending your motion then, is it?
Amended as discussed.
Second to that.
Thank you.
Any more discussion? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor? Aye. Against, same sign. Motion passes. Chairman Erickson.
Thank you. Our second item is to award contracts, material testing for construction projects. Motion coming out of committee is to award the proposals for construction materials testing for 2025 construction projects as follows. There's a variety of projects for 2 vendors, Braun Intertech for $79,166 and ITT for the amount $14,720, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Erickson, second by Chesak. Chairman Erickson.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. So the projects included in this are Wright and 10th Street, Beach, Oak Ridge, South Brainerd resurfacing project, Hawkins, Ronald Joseph resurfacing, Southeast Brainerd reconstruction project. And we typically do our own testing as well as the vendors we use to do the construction. And so this just gives an additional verification of the materials testing.
All right. Thank you. Any more discussion? None. Let's go to a vote. All in favor? Aye. Against? Same sign. Motion passes. Chairman Erickson.
All right, our third item, direction requested on additional scope of work items. This is for improvement 2408 M Street Outfall Repair Project. The motion coming out of committee is to reinstate the fence segment, including some filling, grading corrections will be necessary to provide the ability for appropriate concrete footings as were in place prior. And I so move.
Second.
Motion by Erickson, second by Chesak. Mr. Chairman Erickson.
Yeah, so thank you. So this was just west of M Street. We have a pipe that goes through for some drainage. It doesn't quite make it through. There's kind of a swale. It's hard to see on the map there, but it created some outwash that damaged the adjacent property owner's fence. And so we currently have a project that's fixing extending the pipe further towards the river that will alleviate the problem. However, the damage to the fence is what the motion is to correct.
Okay. There's also a pipe that was exposed. Is that currently?
I believe that's part of the current project that's being, so there's an approved project that we are fixing that, and so then this motion is to fix the
Add
fence.
the fence as well. Okay. Thank you for that
was a result
clarification.
of the problem.
All right. Any more discussion? Or just table talk? You good? You good?
Good.
You guys good? All right. Hearing no more discussion, let's go to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Against, same sign. Motion passes. Chairman Erickson.
All right, our fourth item, approve final payment and project acceptance, Police Department HVAC replacement. Motion coming out of committee is to approve the final payment in the amount of $17,400, bringing the total cost of the project to $348,000, which was the original bid amount, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Erickson, second by Chesak. Chairman Erickson, more discussion?
Yeah, so again, this is just simply the final payment of this improvement project, and the vendor, of course, was Thielen Heating.
Excellent. Any more discussion? No, let's go to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Against, same sign. Motion passes. Chairman Erickson.
All right, our fifth item, direction requested on the annual MS4 public meeting. This is a requirement that we have, not only this public meeting, but our MS4 permit. And staff brought this to our attention that Baxter also has the same requirement, and that we could work in tandem with Baxter and have a joint public meeting with them. We typically have this meeting at our regular council meeting, but the motion coming out of committee is to direct staff to hold a shared MS4 annual public meeting with the city of Baxter, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Erickson, second by Chesak. Any more discussion on that?
I kind of described it already, so I'll
Sure.
leave off additional discussion.
Discussing this with staff, this does or does not require a quorum from the council or any council to be present.
No, it does not. We do this, Mankato does this with their 5 local areas, and we.
Open to the public for those
Yes,
areas.
exactly. And Baxter would have to agree with this. The Baxter City Council will have to agree with this also for us to work jointly. And
Is it supposed to be here or there, or is there?
we're actually going to be proposing that we do it at a local park or the Arboretum
Okay.
to do a meeting outside where people can see the storm drains and get more involved with those.
Thank you. So if you don't want to miss out on that MS4 presentation that we get to watch every year, you can still go.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Okay, I'm just going to re-verify what you just verified. If I vote yes, we're holding an additional meeting, but it is a meeting I am not required, expected, even wanted me to be at.
But you can
That is
still
correct.
go.
But I can go as a member of the public if I'm interested in the MS4 permit, which I am, but I don't know if I'm that interested.
Okay.
So, okay, thank you. I just want to be clear that I'm not needed.
Mr. Chazak?
Mr. President, I need more clarification. We're conducting a public hearing, correct? At that? Is that correct?
It's a public meeting for individuals to find out more about MS4 projects.
And then, every year we do this, do we not get some sort of approval by the council after this public hearing?
We do because it's been at the council chambers, but we do not need the council's technical approval to have these meetings. We have to have the state's MS4 requirements to have this meeting, but we do not need city council approval to conduct these meetings. We have in the past because we have had it at the council chambers.
But I think that he's asking the public hearing part, number 2 in this is at the council meeting, correct?
Right. That's if you choose to continue to have it here.
We were doing that by choice.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha. All right. Is that?
And just to clarify, this is not an additional meeting. This is just the one meeting that will be held with Baxter as a joint meeting. But again, Baxter needs to agree with this also.
So, Mr. President, so literally, they can call this a public meeting, but when we have it, it's a public hearing. That way people can speak, but will they be able to speak at this particular
Yes.
meeting?
Yes.
Okay, but yet, literally, nobody could show up for this and they conduct a public hearing, or a public meeting. And yet, they're gonna give a presentation, it could literally have nobody there. So, I don't know if I'm second guessing this decision to have a joint meeting. I assumed it was gonna be a requirement that the board or councils would be in attendance. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me to have this if there's no need for us to be there. But again, that's just I believe what you say, it just seems odd, so. That's all I have.
Have something to add to that, Mr. Habergars?
Yeah, just also, we will be having a slideshow presentation that will be recorded, and we'll have it on our website for individuals to view if they didn't not attend.
Thank you. Mr. Broyles?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just had a question for our city attorney. Can we have a public meeting that elected officials are not required to attend?
Well, of course, if staff wants to hold a public meeting somewhere to provide information to the public, it doesn't have to be a formal public hearing by the council, yeah, you can do that anytime you want.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Does that clear everything for everyone?
Not at all.
Clear as mud? Okay. All right, any more discussion? Hearing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against, same sign.
Aye.
That motion passes. Chairman Erickson.
All right, our sixth item is direction on active code enforcement. We have two properties, 907 First Street, the motion coming out of committee is to recommend an administrative search warrant and abate the junk and debris. The second property is 113 Washington Street, and the motion coming out of committee is to issue a $100 per working day citation until the building is no longer occupied and all outdoor storage issues related to residential occupancy are resolved, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Erickson, second by Chezak. Any more discussion?
Yeah, so both these properties, the 907 First Street, pretty clear junk and debris. We'd handle that as staff normally does. The 113 Washington Street, we talked about this at our last meeting. The issue has persisted. It's a commercial use and it's being used as a residential property. And that's been verified through the police department, and there's actually additional individuals living there, so.
Thank you. Mr. Langham?
Yeah, Council, Mr. President, Council, just so you know, we're in the process of serving this individual right now with a declaratory judgment action in district court to get a court order to have him cease what you're just talking about here, using that property as a residence, just so you're aware that that's also going on.
Okay. Mr. Erickson?
And we can, I think staff's recommendation, the motion coming out of committee is to continue issuing the $100 per day in kind of parallel to that. So there's no conflict there, but we can still do the $100 per working day. Hopefully it gets resolved before we have to take further action.
Okay. More discussion? Hearing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Against, same sign.
Aye.
That motion passes.
Thank you. Our seventh item, the one that was added when we approved the agenda, is going back to Norwood Street between 5th and 6th. That item we talked about at our last meeting, putting up the planters. There was discussion about whether we should do bollards, and I think staff was going to maybe describe that. And so, Mr. President, could I? There was no recommendation coming out of committee, and so wanted to have staff kind of tee this up.
Okay. Mr. Habergars?
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, so the direction was to put a planter there, and then later on in that discussion, actually a bollard, to have something more permanent, something that would be on both sides and not take away from the planter from downtown. Talking with staff, we could definitely do that, and we have the means to get that done. We're just gonna, versus, drilling a hole and placing it in the ground, we're actually just going to be putting a plate on that and bolting it to the sidewalk. So our recommendation is versus having do the work twice, put a planter there, and then later when we get time, put a bollard or the bollard there. We're just going to find the time and get it done once, so we don't have to do the work twice.
This is year round?
Yes, it will be a permanent.
The planter was only going to be for the summer, correct? Okay.
Yeah, just that, we did take action directing staff to put up the planters, and so the recommendation, we did discuss the seasonality of that. So the recommendation is to kind of reverse our action, but go with the bollards instead, which would be more of a permanent year-round solution.
Okay. And we're looking to do that with or without a motion?
We didn't make a recommendation coming out of committee, so.
We move, this is staff's recommendation. I'll move that we follow staff's recommendation to do the bollard in lieu of the planter. Is that correct?
Yes.
Second.
Motion by Chezak, second by Erickson. Mr. Johnson?
I support the motion. I'm glad we're back talking bollards instead of planters over there. I'm a little disappointed to hear we're not digging a hole. It's more like a fake bollard, almost a fallard, if you will. But I think it's a good start. If a car knocks one over, let's dig a hole and put in something more substantial there.
Thank you. Anyone else? None. Let's go to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Against, same sign. Motion passes. Chairman Erickson.
Thank you. End of report.
Thank you. Moving on to number 8, we have unfinished business. 8A, we have a call for applicants, first by our mayor.
We will move things right along. The following committees have seats available. The Charter Commission, 2 terms expiring 2025, 2 terms expiring 2026. Housing Redevelopment, let's try that again. Housing Redevelopment Authority, 1 term expiring 2027. Library Board, 1 term expiring 2027. Public Utilities Commission, 1 term expiring 2028. Transportation Advisory Committee, 2 terms expiring 2025, and 1 term expiring 2026.
Thank you. And as council president, I do have 2 open seats for the Water Tower Committee. No expiration on those seats. You can be on that committee forever. All right, moving on, 8B, we have final reading of proposed ordinance 1581 to consider data center. And I believe this is Mr. Kramvik.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. So the City Council conducted the first reading at the April 21st meeting. The public hearing was conducted by the Planning Commission. Any new data center or data center expansion will be required to obtain a conditional use permit if it is the primary use, or if it's an accessory use that takes up more than 10% of the building. The ordinance will require proposed data centers to produce a sound study prior to approval of the conditional use permit and after operation. If the council has concerns about sound at a later date, the operator, upon council discretion, would be required to provide an additional study. So with that, staff recommends to conduct the final reading of proposed ordinance 1581 and dispense with the actual reading, and then also to adopt proposed ordinance 1581, and I can answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Kramvik. Does anybody have any questions for staff? Anybody? No?
I do.
Mr. Bevins.
Mr. Kramvik, I just heard what you just said. You have to perform a sound study before you can crypto mine. So how would like a company like Blackmetrics satisfy that, being that there's nothing there?
So what you do is a
a
baseline study of that area first to kind of get what your baseline readings are based on traffic around it, any other types of noises, and then they'd be hiring a third-party sound engineer to produce a sound report off of the baseline study, and then also what's projected.
Projected. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none, we're looking for a motion. This first motion will be to conduct a final reading of proposed ordinance 1581 and dispense with the actual reading. As a reminder, that has to be a unanimous vote.
I so move.
Motion by Chezak. We have a second.
Second, Johnson.
Second by Johnson. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor? Aye. Against, same sign. That motion passes. Number 2, now we're looking to adopt the proposed ordinance 1581. Do we have a motion?
So move to adopt.
Motion by Chezak.
Second, Johnson.
Second by Johnson. Any discussion? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor?
So close.
Roll call. Is this a resolution? It doesn't say it on the paper. Wow. I am not guilty on this one.
Wow.
Okay, I'm new to this.
Chezak?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Stunek?
Yes.
Yeager?
Yep.
Erickson?
Yes.
Bevins?
Yes.
O'Day?
Yes,
Good job.
that ordinance passes. All right. Moving on to 8C, we have a final reading of proposed ordinance 1582 on ordinance amending section 1110 of the Brainerd City Code pertaining to cannabis, hemp, and related businesses. And this one sounds like it's Connie on this one? Or James?
I'll take this one first.
I'll hand the floor over to James and Connie.
Thank you, Mr. President. So proposed ordinance 1582 allows for registration on a first-come, first-served basis. The city allows for 2 registrations total for micro businesses with retail, mezzo businesses with retail, and cannabis retail. The first available licenses from the state are for micro businesses with retail endorsements. Currently, our city code does not allow for registrations until cannabis businesses have received their licenses from the state. Businesses cannot receive their licenses from the state until their facility has been inspected by the state. And then as written in state statute, businesses have to invest in significant capital in the facility without assurances that they would receive a registration from the city of Brainerd, as we only have 2, like many other municipalities, restricting those registrations. Staff did send out clarification from the Office of Cannabis Management that we received after the packet went out that contradicts information in the packet. So from the OCM, to address the tensions that exist here with the only available option being to issue after full licensure, OCM proposed a change in the law that would allow a local government to issue local retail registrations to applicants with preliminary license approval. This change would provide a local unit of government to have the option to certify zoning and issue local retail registrations prior to full licensing from the state, easing the tensions of the current law. So the staff did provide an alternative ordinance that currently would not abide by state statute unless changed during the current legislative session. So staff has provided options for council, and based on the new information, staff recommends either conducting the first reading of the alternative ordinance and dispensing with the actual reading, then directing staff to bring it back if state statute allows for this ordinance, and then and/or direct staff to draft an ordinance that removes cap restrictions for micro businesses with retail endorsements. And I can answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Kramvik. Does anyone have questions for staff?
Yeah, how do you keep this all straight?
Well, it's
Things
only
are
changed a
changing
little bit
rapidly.
since our last meeting, right? But this was our main concern that came up somewhere in between. But go ahead and answer Shezak's question.
Yeah, certainly things are changing quite fast. New information's coming out from OCM, pretty much daily on some of these items. If I had to, I know Attorney Langle wrote up some recommendations based on state statutes and pre-approvals. Staff believes that's probably in reference to some of the equity pre-approvals that they were looking at that the state ended up striking down, most likely left in the state statute without cleaning that up. So OCM did send this out for clarification.
Thank you. Is that all, Mr. Chezak?
So far.
Okay. Anyone else have questions for staff? So we're trying to decide right now if we want to just simply change the language. We have to go back to a first reading instead of having this as the final reading. Or do we want to hold off or change something else like the cap? Or do we want to just hold off and wait until the state gets through all this so we don't have to come back and change this? Or are we very comfortable with this language change moving forward?
I would say we hold off.
I know you would.
Well, the state's gonna change it anyway.
It seems that way.
But we're still on the hook to issue licenses as of.
Did they back off on that?
So if somebody were to be approved by the state, again, they would have to have their facility completely inspected, which
Let's
means they
assume
would,
all of that stuff's done. When do we have to start issuing registration?
if they get their business license from the state of Minnesota, we would have to license them.
Starting.
Or we'd have to register them as
starting
soon as they
today?
get
Starting
their.
yesterday?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
But if we were to add this language, come back in, say, 2 weeks, that's the second reading, and then it goes into effect about 10 days after that, then we would be accepting pre-approvals at that point instead of just full licenses. Correct?
And that's, so yes, that's correct. Obviously, a first reading was done, just indicating first come, first serve. So city council as another option certainly could conduct the final reading of the originally presented proposed ordinance to institute the first come, first serve basis, and we could come back at a later date to amend it based on state statute.
So it's not any harder or easier one way or another, but Mr. Johnson.
Yeah, I support changing the language to reserve the permits or issue the permits on a pre-registration. I mean, if we can, because as James pointed out, there's a substantial investment that goes into starting an operation like this. If you're a micro, you're a little smaller. If you're a meso, you can go about twice as big. But a micro facility can grow like 15,000 square feet indoor canopy. So after a pre-approval of a license, they'll need to build a building or acquire a building and get it ready for growing of 15,000, up to 15,000 square feet of a growing surface, get all the sprinklers, get everything, invest all of that money and hope they can get to the city and get that license. And maybe they won't, maybe they will. I think it would be easier to work with the businesses when they get that pre-approval and they're starting to, they have a little assurance before they move forward with the large capital expenditure to actually get the facility up and running. So I would like to change the language for the pre-approval.
Right. That does put people in a tough spot if we don't do that way. They could just grow any other type of vegetable, but they're probably not going to profit as
profitable.
Or flowers.
Leaf lettuce.
All right. I guess we're just waiting for a motion on the direction, which way to go here.
I'd move, well, one last question. Staff's recommendation is to change the language?
Yeah, so it does appear that council seems interested in conducting the first reading of the alternative ordinance provided by staff and dispensing with the actual reading, then directing staff to bring it back if state statute allows for the ordinance.
So that's number one.
Yeah.
Yep.
I move number one.
Second. Motion by Johnson, second by Bevins. So it's not necessarily coming back in 2 weeks. We're waiting until whether or not it goes through at the state level first, and then we'll see it again.
Yes, we'd be waiting for approval from the legislature.
Okay.
I have a question.
Mr. Chezak.
So on that, there's no requirement after we approve the first reading to come back at a certain date? We can withhold, hold off as indefinitely?
It's part of the motion.
Yeah, I guess it is. But according to any legal requirements on ordinance? Maybe Joe?
Yeah, the city council would choose not to have the second reading. I mean, you guys have to pass the motion to have a second reading, and if for whatever reason you decided that it wasn't gonna work, then you just not do it, or you could move not to have it if you wanna have an affirmative vote in the record. I think the timing is probably gonna work out. The legislative session ends the day of your next meeting. So if they get this changed and the governor signs it, this may all just fall into place.
Okay.
We'll see.
Thank you.
I trust the state on this issue.
Oh, yeah. Everyone does. Anyone else? Mr. Yeager?
Yes, just real quickly. My assumption is that if people haven't already, we will be receiving citizens who are coming forward wanting to kind of pursue this. My question is would it be possible that we could just reach out to them and just kind of let them know kind of what's happening in the steps so that we don't have people that are hoping to go down this path and then feeling like, oh, we didn't know, we didn't hear. This is complicated, I think, just for us, let alone somebody who's coming in and isn't listening to these meetings. So would it be, is that a fair ask that staff just reach back out to the people who have pinged us and say, this is what's happening, these are the steps?
Yep, that's correct, and staff has been doing that.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Thank you.
That's all.
Thank you. Mr.
I
Kramer?
just wanted to make clarification. Obviously, number one was to consider it. May want to conduct the first reading and dispense with the actual reading of the alternative ordinance.
Okay. Would you like to amend that motion?
I would love to amend my motion.
Friendly amendment?
I'm in. It was easier to grow it when it was illegal.
Seems that way.
Speaking from experience.
Yeah, you would know. All right. So that motion has been amended. Seconder has agreed. Any more discussion?
All right.
Seeing none, just a reminder, this has to be unanimous if we don't want to hear all that language. All right? I'm this way now. All those in favor?
Aye.
Against, same sign. Thank you.
You were holding your breath, weren't you?
I was waiting for you. I think that's it for that one, correct, James?
Not done
For
yet.
now?
That's correct for now.
Okay. Thank you. Moving on, we have number 9, and that would be 9A, adopting a resolution to award a bid for improvement 1712 Wright and 10th Street reconstruction project. And I believe this is Mike Abelhorst.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. This is the fifth and last time that you will see this project versus seeing the construction being done. So it's gone through all the different scoping aspects. The consultant has done all the assessment, and we are now final. We have a bid, and the low bidder is to Land War Construction for a dollar amount of $3,237.30.27. This is under our engineer's estimated estimate, and we are seeing a lot of that within our projects. So we are recommending adopting this resolution that accepts this bid and for the total dollar amount as that I just indicated. And with that, I can take any questions. Just to, sorry, I didn't indicate that this just project is going to be including the storm drain, curb and gutter, water main, and pavement.
Thank you, Mr. Abelhorst. Does anyone have questions for staff?
How are you going to get the UPS trucks out of the way?
We have been in contact with the UPS. I was just showing James an email today from them, and they are working diligently with that. They have just asked me to meet with them again, and as they are also concerned about our roundabout construction project. So we are engaged with them, and they are reaching out. So it's good to see that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions for staff? If not, we're looking for a motion to adopt the attached resolution, which accepts the bid and awards the contract to Landwehr Construction, Inc. in the total contract amount of $3,237,030.27 and authorize proper signatures on the agreement documents.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Bevins, second by Yeager. Any more discussion? Seeing none, Tony?
Chesak?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Stunek?
Yes.
Yeager?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Bevins?
Yes.
O'Day?
Yes, that resolution passes. Moving on to 9B, we have a first reading of proposed ordinance 1583 ending future rural service district properties. And again, this is Community Development Director James Kramvik.
Thank you, Mr. President. So staff have attached proposed ordinance 1583 that would not allow future properties to be added to the rural service district, but does allow properties to remain in the district if eligible. Staff reached out to Crow Wing County and were provided a list of properties currently in the rural service district. The Community Development Director, as well as the city engineer, reviewed the list and found 11 properties that should be removed from the rural service district because of the availability of sewer and/or water services. So with that, staff did provide aerial photos of each one of those properties. Some of them are city properties themselves. So with that, staff is recommending the city council review that list and approve the list, recommending properties from removal from the rural service district in proposed 1583, or potentially make any changes prior to conducting the first reading. And number 2, conduct the first reading of proposed ordinance 1583 and dispense with the actual reading. And then finally, direct staff to hold a public hearing at the June 2nd city council meeting and notify the affected property owners. And I can answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Kramvik. Mr. Chesak?
Yes, I'm interested as to how did we obtain the aerial photos?
Aerial photos were from Crow Wing County GIS.
Thank you.
Any more questions for staff? Seeing none, we're looking for a motion to approve the list of properties recommended by staff for removal from the rural service district in proposed ordinance 1583, or make changes prior to conducting the first reading. Are you looking for a motion for all three?
I would say a motion that there's a consensus from the city council that you're good with the list from staff.
Okay.
I'd move to approve the list provided by staff to be removed from the rural service district.
Second.
Motion by Johnson, second by Stunek. Any more discussion?
Yes. I want to thank P&F for taking this on. I appreciate it. That's just something I think was needed for a long time.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, do we need a roll call? We're just going to do it anyway. Go ahead, Tony.
Chesak?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Stunek?
Yes.
Yeager?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Bevins?
Yes.
O'Day?
Yes, that passes.
He's covering himself.
Yep, I'm just going to do it on every one from now on. All right. Got two more things.
I'd move to conduct the first reading of proposed ordinance 1583 and dispense with the actual reading.
Second.
All right, we got a motion by Johnson, second by Bevins. Johnson?
Yeah, in the spirit of the thankfulness that Jeff had for our committee, I'd like to just pass that directly on to staff and thank you for taking this on because the Rural Service District has long frustrated me and I'm glad we're able to move forward and I think do it better than it was done in the past. So thanks for all the work you put in on it.
Anyone else? Nobody? Tony, please call the roll.
Chesak?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Stunek?
Yes.
Yeager?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Bevins?
Aye.
O'Day?
Yes,
I wasn't wrong.
that passes unanimously. Now we're looking for number 3, for staff to hold a public hearing at the June 2nd City Council meeting and notify affected property owners.
So move, Johnson.
Motion by Johnson,
Second.
second by Bevins. Discussion? Seeing none, we'll go back to a vote. Voice vote.
This one is roll call.
Whoa, it's like kind of walking on a moving boat.
I'm just kidding.
All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Against, same sign. That motion passes. Now we're moving on to staff reports. Tony Gage. Chief Holmes.
Nothing to add, thank you.
Chief Davis. Sean Strong.
Nothing to add.
Connie Hillman.
Nothing to add.
Mike Habegorst.
Thank you, Mr. President. The only report is just our transit consultant review is still going on. I've been informing Councilman Jezak and SPW just on a biweekly basis after our meetings. And again, in June, you'll hear our full report.
Thank you. James Kramvik.
Yep, just one update on Country Manor. Country Manor has submitted all of their building permits. All approvals have been done by the state of Minnesota, so that was kind of a big hurdle to get through. And then that permit should be ready for issuance sometime in the next couple days here. And they're expecting construction probably sometime early June.
Thank you, Mr. Kramvik. Joe Langel.
Nothing for me, thank you.
Chris Schubert. All right. Oh, actually, Eric Sharp is here. We have you online.
Yes, Mr. President, just a quick update, working and hopefully working with city staff to talk about the Greater Minnesota Housing Infrastructure Grant Program that we're hoping to bring in front of council in a couple of weeks. That would be in support of some future development of some twin homes out in the Brainerd Oaks neighborhood that we're hoping to work with the city and hopefully have you guys approve us submitting that grant. So more to come, just wanted to get it on your radar. And we will hopefully see you guys in a couple weeks to provide more information on that.
Thank you, Eric. Any updates on 805 Laurel?
I have reached out to the developer about a couple weeks ago. Have not heard a response yet. I'm going to continue to try to follow up. No news at this point.
Thank you. Administrator Broyles.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to thank the council for, I think that workshop, I think that was a week ago today. It was very beneficial for staff. That's going to help us to kind of gauge our direction and how we allocate our resources. That's very beneficial. Thank you for that. Last week, I went to the MCMA conference. I was there for 3 days. Great conference. I will say that as I talked to a lot of my colleagues around the state, infrastructure came up time and time again as people are seeing huge price tags in the near future, whether it's PFAS, PFOA, or just traditional infrastructure. These things are becoming so expensive. So if it's any consolation, I would say almost without exception, every town in the state is struggling to find dollars for infrastructure. So it's going to be a challenge moving forward. Because I was at that workshop, I didn't get a chance to completely integrate the suspense tracker. I'm going to be working with Tony. We got that buttoned up now, so we're going to start presenting that at the next council meeting. So I think that's going to be great. And as always, provide feedback and we'll adjust as necessary. And just a reminder for the joint meeting this Thursday at 5:30. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Broyles. Mayor Bedot.
First of all, I want to start with the traditional Minnesota greeting of Nas Reed for those of you that partake. Second of all, it sounds like we need a tracker on the tracker, so let's get that started. And I also want to say that this is a rare occasion, folks. The moon and the stars have aligned. Over here, there's a gum from the 80s. Double chief, right here, we got it. Doesn't happen often, but the double chief is here.
Chief, yeah.
Right there, double chief, not one, but two, double chief. Lastly, just want to say super fast, tomorrow the park board is having a workshop, very similar to what the city council did, just to align our priorities. They are very excited to hear that number 5 on the council's heavy lifting priority list was the maintenance of parks, so that will align very well with them. And we just want to make sure that everybody's on the same page, that we're heading in the same direction. And it sounds like our parks are going to be the most beautiful of any area you've ever seen. And then lastly, just a reminder that Thursday I will be at the Bladek annual meeting. Asked me to just speak briefly on a few things about the city. So if you have anything that you would love for me to champion, now is the time. Last call. Got to get it to me because I'll forget. Better let me know. So again, that's Thursday morning, Bladek. I believe we're in Nisswa. So they're making me get up bright and early. I'm not very happy about that, but that's okay. End of report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let's start with P&F. Chief Stunek.
I have nothing.
We have a triple chief.
Triple chief.
Bevins.
I want to be a chief.
We can call you chief.
Friday, I went to the American Legion and had the prime rib special. It was fantastic. Always want to give a shout out to a local business that does a great job. It's a bargain and it's delicious. And it cost me $25 for the prime rib and about almost $100 for the meat raffle donated.
You want a blue chip?
Did you win?
No, I won nothing.
You won the prime rib.
I didn't get, well, yeah, I got the $25 prime rib for $100. The other thing is I was at the Brainerd Hydro Dam today with a group of Brainerd citizens. Trent Hawkinson from our public utilities gave an absolutely fantastic tour. Lots of great information, lots of great Brainerd history, and that's a project it's just amazing every time I go in there. So thank you to Trent Hawkinson for the BPU. End of report.
Thank you, Mr. Bevins. Chairman Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I've got 3 things. The work on the sewer line behind my house continues apace. They hooked us up to the new sewer line last week. They called me today, and I think they're hooking us up to the water tomorrow, but I just want to give D. Chantel a big shout out, and our street and BPU guys too, but D. Chantel has been fantastic in communicating with all the residents on the alley and calling us and keeping us up to date on when they're doing this, when they're doing that, and it's been a pleasure having them work in the neighborhood. And on to our parks. Baseball season is in full swing, and I want to give a tip of the cap to our parks maintenance department and our parks guys for having all of our facilities open, our bathrooms open, our drinking fountains going. So while the 9-year-olds are out there playing baseball and inevitably have to use the bathroom, they have a nice place to go that isn't a tree. We actually had a double header over in Baxter this weekend, and I don't want to say anything bad about Baxter, but their park bathrooms are not open. They have one biffy, has not been cleaned since the mid-'80s at least. People were like loading kids up in their minivans to drive to the nearest gas station. So just good job keeping our parks open, nice and clean, and having the facilities be usable. Thank you for that. And finally, Naz Reed.
All right. Shots fired in the bathroom wars. Let's move over to Safety and Public Works. Jeff Chesak.
Yeah, bathroom gate, here we come. Yeah, public utility meeting. They were able to put that on video, so if you haven't had a chance, you should watch that before our meeting on Thursday. It will give you some background. That's very valuable. Audio's a little weak, but I think managed with a headset. And, it's a lengthy meeting. It was over 2 hours long, so a lot to talk about. And again, Trent's added on a 2-year rate increase every 6 months. I don't want to give you any percentages at this time. We can get that later if you want. I don't have those numbers in front of me right now, but this was something because of the revenue needed. It's important. So it was a recommendation, I think, for 4 or 5 years that they decided to just go with 2 years. But a nice debate on that. But other than that, I don't have anything else. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chesak. Mr. Yeager.
Yes, thank you. We'll go, we did have a airport meeting last Thursday, so we'll just briefly go through. And believe it or not, it kicks off with another bathroom-related item. We had a robust discussion about the porta potty being removed from the hangar ramp, and that's a pretty big deal out there, so we'll be talking about that. But I just had to throw that in because that was part of the discussion, and it fit. So the next item that came up before us was an AIG grant. This was, I guess, kind of what I call a mystery grant. It's a grant that just pops out of the nowhere that we don't really know what it's for. We didn't really see it, didn't get a good, any advance warning to absorb this grant. So after some spirited dialogue, we decided, I made the motion, it was seconded by Mr. Barrows, who happens to be here, that we will have a grant planning session that will begin in October of this year, and we are going to plan out the grants that we are going to apply for, because we actually do know these grants before they come. They're not actually as dimly lit as we thought they were. We know what grants are going to be available in the next session. We are going to have a grant planning session in October that will align us for all of the grants we're going to apply for at the airport, and then, more importantly, tie those into our CIP for the entire year of 2026. It just seems like a no-brainer, so that's an exciting turn of events. If you'll remember, we had a discussion about the JPA. This is our Joint Powers Agreement, the letter that was forwarded out to our constituency, our group out there at the airport. It was my motion that we have the airport look at this first, and after a little bit of review, very little dialogue, they offered us best regards and good luck to pass that along and bring it back to us and to keep moving it down the path. If you'll recall, that is our tech, facilities, HR, finance, and legal. And lastly, we had about a 30-minute presentation by a company by the name of Stephen Baldwin and Associates. What this company does, they're based out of New York City. What this company does is they help airports align themselves for potential future authority situations. It also they also help airports look at their books. It helps them look at how they're spending their money, how they're making their money, revenue generating, all of those types of things. That's all this company does, is helps airports run efficiently. It's a big price tag. It's about $175,000 in consulting fees to have their company help us through that process, but it is a robust process. And quite honestly, I think the discussion will be in front of us for a while as, is this something that we should do? It's like a lot of consulting, you spend money to save money, hopefully that's the plan, but it's a big price tag, and we have many, many other examples, including St. Cloud, that worked with this company and speaks very highly of the process and its potential application in the future. So with that, that was it for the airport this month, and we'll see what next month brings. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yeager. I'm curious, this consulting service, is that supposed to help solve some of these issues between the city and the county that we've been?
It very well might be. So as a part of this joint powers agreement, also, just so you guys should know as well, as I've also asked city staff to look at the, as Mr. Johnson pointed out, I believe it was 2 meetings ago, that a lot of the heavy lifting in the presented joint powers agreement was done by the city of Brainerd. We're providing virtually all of the heavy lifting there. So as a part of that dialogue, I've asked city staff to kind of give us an outline of what we think that cost of what that burden might be monetarily, so that when Mr. Barrows and myself, who is my other equal half of the P&F committee out there, sit down and kind of begin to formulate a budget for next year and kind of an initial ask for next year, we can do that with some balance between both Crow Wing County and the city of Brainerd, working together as we are both 50-50 ownership. So to answer your question, Stephen Baldwin and Associates, yes, they do a lot of things, but a big part of what they do is they help airports generate not only the political aspirations of what it would take for a said airport to go out into the community and make a pitch of why we should be supported by our greater community, but they also help formulate the strategy, they help formulate the message, how we get it out there, and just how we bring it to fruition if we go or decide to go down the path of an airport authority, which would be out in the future. So it's that whole front end side. I think you may remember we talked about the initial investment to just see if it's possible. This is kind of that number. So pretty exciting. It's certainly something I think would like to look at the airport out there. And we know we have a situation that needs to be dealt with at some point in the near future. And I think there will be at least some people leveraging that this consulting process may very well be the groundwork to move forward. So we'll see.
Okay, so maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
Thank you.
Potentially.
Chairman Erickson.
Just looking forward to the upcoming Planning Commission meeting, second Wednesday. And then in addition to that, in South Brainerd, of course, last year we had the goats chomping up all the buckthorn behind my house. Work continues on that. No goats, of course, this year, but I think it's phase 2 is some equipment back there. Taking the second step, I guess, clearing out more of that buckthorn. It's looking great.
It is looking great. I don't have much to add tonight. I just want to remind the council to just prepare for Thursday's meeting. I don't know if we've ever had a meeting between the council, BPU commission, and the EDA. So that should be fun. That should be fun. And it is road construction season coming up. So it's going to be just as annoying as it always is every summer, but don't worry, because this year won't be even half as annoying as next year or the year after that. So we have that to look forward to. 5 years? Oh yeah, then we well, that's a lot of Baxter stuff going on in the next few years after that. That's okay. Other than that, we are just looking for a motion to adjourn to that joint public utility meeting on May 8th at 5:30 PM. We had a motion by Chezak, second by Bevins. All those in favor? Aye. Against, same sign. We are adjourned.
Motion to adjourn.